Oh, and I just hit the wrong button.
Do it again.
There it is.
Turn on a flashlight, flip a light switch, strike a match, just light something on fire. Welcome to Murph's Fan Cave from the Dago Dungeon. Join me, Uncle Mosh, as we join Raiders Fan Radio, taking a lighter journey into the dark side.
Okay, we're back. Look left, look right, Koleknikov, a leaking pass, touchdown!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Intercepted by Khalil Mack. Touchdown! Raiders!
The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most seamless, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win.
What is up, Raider Nation? Welcome once again to another fantastic episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Raiders Fan Radio, episode number 92 here in Murph's Fan Cave. And
We're so stupid.
We're so stupid. For those of you that are on the podcast, you don't know this, but for the YouTube folks, I forgot to start the podcast recording. So we kind of already started our intro of the show, and then I realized I didn't have the button pushed.
You know, the best part about that is like when that is rolling, that beginning part is rolling.
Yeah.
You and me are like, we're like little kids in church, man. We're like, don't talk over John Madden.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're like, we'll talk over anybody that's still alive and functional and all that. And we're like,
don't talk.
No. Al Davis is coming.
So that voice you hear, of course, is the one and only Uncle Mosh. Uncle Mosh, welcome to episode number 92 here of Raiders Fan Radio here in formerly the Dago Dungeon, now Murph's Fan Cave. Welcome back once again, as always.
Well, it's so nice to be here, Murph. I'm not going to say what I said the first time when we screwed it up, but that's okay. But 92, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good deal. Well, welcome to good to have you back. So we have a jam-packed show today for episode number 92 of Raiders Fan Radio. We have so much to get to, so we are over-prepared and overwhelmed today with so much to talk about. So bear with us. We're going to move through it as quick as we can to try to keep this thing under the running time of the extended version of the Two Towers.
That's right. Extended version of the Two Towers, plus all the trailers that go along with it. So we're shooting for 4 hours.
4 hours. Which, nothing like a good Lord of the Rings reference on the day when you have your interview guest is someone known as the Raider Nerd, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So today here on Raiders Fan Radio, we got an interview at the end of the show with the one and only Kevin, the Raider Nerd. Kevin, if you don't know who he is, we met him last year in person at week 1 of the Raiders-Titans game in Nashville. Kevin is part of the Raiders Atlanta fan club, and also he's a cosplayer. He does it's a Boba Fett Mandalorian looking Star
awesome.
Wars Raider thing. It's amazing. He's got this big shield and stuff, and it says the Raider Nerd on it and whatnot. So anyways, we have a great interview with Kevin. He's a global traveler. The guy represents Raider Nation all over the place, and again, he's a card carrying member, literally, of Raider Nation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some great
stuff.
pics of him in his costume. You and Sonny took some great photos of him last year at the week 1. So
yes, absolutely.
Check
it was
out
great.
the website, and it's all over that.
Yeah, he joined us at our tailgate, is where we met him in person, and we've gotten to know Kevin quite well over the past year. He's guested on this show now his 3rd time, and then I've guested on a few of the shows that they do on their network. And so he and his buddy Kyle and Norm, those guys, they do an amazing job, have a great network, and some great shows over there. So definitely check them out. But we'll talk plenty about that later. So that's coming up at the end of the show. In the meantime, before that, we're going to talk about a few things here. We got, as Uncle Mosh mentioned, it's episode number 92. So we're going to talk about our player that we always honor with our episode number. We are going to do our 4-minute offense, which is a newish now segment on the show where we run down 5 Raider stories in 4 minutes. Then we're going to get into the postseason game that happened just the other night between the Packers and the Raiders. Then we're going to talk about what happens when a fan runs on the field. And we're going to listen to some of you. Lots of guys joining us here in the chat already. Thank you to those of you that are joining us. We're going to hear from some of you that have called into the show. Uncle Mosh, we already have some made men here in the YouTube chat. Dakota Raider, of course, Ron. I see Raider Bear in there. Joe Budiso. Joe Budiso. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. But anyways, and Raider Noel in there. So we got some folks already joining us in the chat room.
Nice.
Appreciate when you all interact with us, of course, here on Raiders Fan Radio, and that's where we head into the Sea of Fans mailbag to listen to you all.
You got a surprise too, right?
I got a surprise, a new segment tonight.
A new segment we're going to
A new segment tonight. Plus, also, we're going to talk about some Madden, Kirk Morrison. I mean, Mosh, it's crazy. We got so much stuff to talk about.
All done in 21 minutes.
All done in 21 minutes. Yeah. We can spend 21 minutes talking about Khalil Mack.
We tried to start the show for the last 21 minutes.
Yeah. So speaking of Khalil Mack, I want to run something by you real quick, Uncle Mosh. So before we even get into the player info, before we get into the contact, just something I want to throw at you. You know, I've kind of rallied against mainstream media a little bit here lately with the Khalil Mack stuff, with some of the notions that have been thrown out there. The Raiders don't have money and they haven't accounted for his salary via the salary cap and like all these things that people are accusing the Raiders of not doing, right? One of the things that I've said, and I think is a common thread in this, is that one of the things that does link to this directly is Aaron Donald. And that there's another player, a very significant player, reigning defensive player of the year, that is also holding out and also has a pending contract. And that those two are going to be uniquely connected one way or the other, because one of them is going to sign and then the other one is going to sign based on that market value that gets established. That's kind of a known thing, right? So this morning I'm listening to Fox Sports Radio, Uncle Mosh. Bucky Brooks is on there. I forget the name of the host of the show. Bucky is the guy that kind of did the color commentary of it. But something that they were talking about with Aaron Donald, they're talking about the money that's being considered, that it's an upwards of $25 million, that's a lot of money, not only for a player, but considering that how nowadays in the NFL, the defenses are now really being taken out of the equation a lot of times because of the way that the penalties are working, the way that offenses are being, really allowed to do so much more, and that where there's really a little bit of a devalue being put on defense. And in how in those terms, a guy looking for $25 million, it may not make a lot of sense to sign him to that large of a contract. Excellent talking points. You know what they weren't talking about?
What's that?
Stan Kroenke doesn't have enough money. The Rams didn't account for the salary cap. All this garbage that gets thrown out there in terms of when they discuss it among the Raiders, nobody's saying the same stuff in terms of the Rams. That was a very valid way to discuss why that guy's not in their camp. Why in the crap can't we look at it the same way in terms of Mack and the Raiders?
It drives me nuts. Here's the thing. This isn't new. Guys holding out isn't new. This happens every year. It just so happens it's our turn. Let it go. Let it go.
It's going to happen.
Jeez, oh, Pete.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out at the top of the show. I don't want to get into a big thing on Mack later. I think we've talked about it enough, but I thought that was, I just want to highlight what those guys did. And as you're Raider Nation going through and listening and consuming your media in terms of this stuff, those are the kind of pay attention to people like that. That makes sense, right?
We're not Raider Nation. We're not even majoring on the minors. We're majoring on stuff that's made up.
Yes.
On non sequitur stuff.
Yes.
None of it flows, guys.
No.
Jeez, Pete.
No, absolutely not. So anyway, so good job by the guys at Fox Sports Radio. Good job, Bucky Brooks. Excellent discussion there. All right, so that's now we got that down and out of the way. Now let's get into the next episode of Raiders Fan Radio. And first off, Uncle Mosh can tell you how you can get in touch with us.
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. You know your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show@RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murph's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
All right, Uncle Mosh, we always like to honor a player with our episode here on Raiders Fan Radio. So the episode being number 92. Sometimes we'll go with a year. Sometimes we'll go with, like we went with Red Right 88, depending on what it is.
Numbers.
We love numbers. We're not math guys, but we're definitely numbers guys. And so anyways, so for number 92, I kind of did something unique, Mosh.
First time ever.
And follow with me on this, Raider Nation. Tell me what you think. Curious to hear your all's feedback on it. This is episode number 92, so we needed to feature number 92. And the most obvious choice, the most, I would say, recognizable number 92 for the Raiders. And considering how long the Raiders' history has been, it was kind of surprising to me that this was the guy that we kind of locked into. But it was Richard Seymour. But I didn't like Richard Seymour when he was a Raider.
Why not?
The Patriots let him go.
Right.
Or I forget what the actual transaction determined was. I think we traded somehow for. I don't remember it all. Don't kill me for that, Raider Nation. Anyways, but so Richard Seymour, so he makes his way over, and he didn't report initially, he didn't want to be a Raider. He was pissed. I'm pretty sure it was a trade, and he was pissed that he got traded, and so he didn't show up to camp. He held out, and the Raiders ended up franchise tagging him, and then we ultimately signed him to a 2-year deal after that, and it was for an exorbitant amount of money.
Right, we thought a lot more of him than he thought of us.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
Yeah.
And then all he did during his playing time was he was supposed to be this mentor to bring guys along like Tommy Kelly and whatnot, but all he did was spit on Ben Roethlisberger and punch him and got fined $25,000 and
he should have got a bonus for that.
That's right. You hate the Steelers. You hate the dang Steelers. But it was just a lot of things. He never really represented and we're not opposed to
punching Ben Roethlisberger. Right. We're not opposed to that.
But you got to win too.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You got to be able to back it up.
Yeah,
So
I just never I never embraced Richard Seymour.
I gotcha.
As a Raider. So anyways, in looking around, someone in the chat, Raider Bear mentioned Stacy McGee, wearing the number 92 most, semi-recently. But I decided to go with the Rook. I decided to go with the new
move.
Yeah, I'm really going off the page here because we always pick somebody that kind of epitomizes, the Raiderness, as much as we possibly can. So I don't know if PJ Hall's going to do it or not, but I'm going to go with the young man is balling out here. I know it's a preseason. I'm not putting a gold jacket on him, but he's balling out here in the preseason, and he is a unique talent. So now how much that transfers to the NFL, we will ultimately see. But as far as his athletic ability, the guy's kind of a freak. So let's go and listen to a little bit of audio from NFL Network talking about PJ Hall.
You look at the PJ Hall tape from college and you say, wow, but granted it was at Sam Houston State. He could do some damage if he can do even half of what he did at Sam Houston State at the next level. What about maybe an under-the-radar guy to keep an eye on today as John Gruden gets those rookies on the field for the first time? James?
Well, you put him on the radar, and it's P.J. Hall. I think nobody knew anything about this guy. He wasn't invited to the Combine, and then at his pro day at Sam Houston State, this guy, remember, he's a defensive tackle under 6'1", and at about 310 pounds. His vert was 38 inches. Wow. Would have been second among defensive linemen at the Combine, and then he benches 36. He runs about a 4.7 40, and then everybody want to know who he was. He's a kid that was a running back in high school, blocked 14 kicks at Sam Houston State. John Gruden, I was there, Andrew, at the owners' meetings when he was pounding the table saying we need to get interior pressure to help Khalil Mack. Well, him and Hurst could be that spot that they could get some pressure on an offensive line and be able to help Khalil Mack become even more disruptive, if that's possible, but they'd like to see it.
There you go, Uncle Mosh. What do you think? P.J. Hall wearing number 92 representing, or we're honoring PJ Hall. Sounds funny to say that. We're going to honor a rookie, but that's who we're going to go with.
Even if he doesn't make the team, he'll always go down in history as RFR number 92.
That's right.
Hey, Raider Nation, I just want to say hello to Pastor Mondo of NationMinistry.net. You're listening to Raider Fan Radio with Uncle Marsh and my brother, Murph. Just win, baby.
All right, Uncle Mosh, next up here on Raiders Fan Radio, we are going to get to our newest segment. Newest until today. Yeah, till we get to later on in the show. But for right now, our newest segment is the 4-minute offense, and this is where we cover 5 Raider topics in 4 minutes. And we limit ourselves because otherwise we'd be here all night. So we're going to jump in here. You ready, Uncle Mosh?
Ooh, okay.
Okay, let me get the Pink Floyd timer ready. Okay, you ready?
I got the buzzer ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, here we go. Uncle Mosh, the Raiders cut Obi Melifonwu. They said that the reports say he didn't love football enough, that John Gruden never embraced him, because if you don't love football as much as John Gruden, then you're not really necessarily welcome on the team. Can you possibly make it through your entire playing career into the second round, get drafted by an NFL team, and not love football enough?
Oh, what a label to be labeled with.
I know.
Ay. Oh, well. Moving right along. That's just harsh. That's a hard one for us to swallow, man. We really like that guy.
I like Obi Melifonwu, a veteran of Raiders Fan Radio.
The Raiders, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie.
Yeah, we did.
Love that Tennessee connection.
Yes.
Here's what's really cool about this guy. He went to Tennessee State University and played ball for the Tennessee State Tigers, but he ran track for the Tennessee State University.
Yeah.
So it was
very
great.
cool. That's why he's so fast. Guy ran like a 4.29 at the combine.
It was crazy. He was an NCAA All-American. I mean, the guy is
awesome.
amazing. What an addition to the team. That's going to be amazing.
That's going to be cool. Definitely Al Davis approved signing there. You know what I mean? No doubt.
Going for the speed.
And also a number 16 overall pick.
That's right.
As Jerry Rice, Pete Koch, now Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Who else? E.J. Manuel.
And last week. I'm dying here.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
We got to get going.
Go. You're next.
All right. Can I officially hate on Pharaoh Brown now? I ask you this every week. He committed another goddamn holding penalty. Pharaoh Brown, get your 81 off my TV.
He's gone. He's out of here. You can hate on him.
Okay.
Call Q-Dog. Put him on the hit list.
Double tap.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. Is it fair to criticize Gruden for being different?
Well, here's what I got to ask you, Uncle Mosh, is that Gruden has been criticized for this living in the past, this whole thing, right?
Right.
But then he does things like not play his starters, right? And he's criticized then for doing that. And you look at what has happened around the league with the injuries. Like, I'm okay with Gruden not following suit. We saw Cam Newton land on his gosh darn head. Like, I'm okay with having him do different things. Like, let's not do both. Let's not criticize him for being the same old, and criticize him for doing new stuff as well.
Here's what I don't get. We went nuts when we got Gruden. Now we're nuts because we have him. Come on, folks. Let's give him a chance.
Yeah.
Can we get through to the first game?
I know, right?
Lighten up.
All right, so Uncle Mosh, our buddy James Cowser. The depth chart came out recently. It was before the last game. Is James Cowser going to make this football team?
I'm all for the Cows. The Cows, he's an amazing guy.
He speaks Mandarin Chinese.
He's so smart. Is he going to make it? I don't know. It's going to be a tough one to see.
It's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one. I'm hoping for him, though.
Uncle Mosh, we got through the 4-minute offense in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
I know.
Can we talk about Pharaoh Brown?
That was easy. That was too easy. Tell us more about Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie.
Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie.
I'll tell you this. We're going to talk about Madden later on in the show. I am so glad for my Madden game. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie you got to have fast corners in Madden.
Yeah.
And he is one of the fastest corners, always has been. He's a Madden gem. I'm so excited that he's coming over and going to be a Raider now.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Is it going to hit yet? We make it? Filler.
We'll go early.
In the industry, they do this. They go, there it is. Well, no, that's your buzzer. That's not.
Oh, right.
They say stretch. They say stretch.
This is great radio.
Oh, my gosh. This is terrible. There it is. All right.
We thought we were going to go long on that.
I thought we were going to go way longer on that. Now, okay, so here's what's happened. So the first time we did it, we ran out. The second time we did it, we got a little bit better. Now the third time, we've overswung the pendulum. So now, Uncle Mosh, we need to just pace ourselves and take our time and just let the 4-minute offense evolve, man. You can't rush through it.
We got it. You know what we got to do? We got to quit eating all that sugar before the show.
I know, right?
We sugered up.
And sucking down caffeine.
Oh my gosh! I had coffee before the show, and it was like.
So I do have a little piece of audio here that's pretty cool. Speaking of Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Gruden talked a little bit about having him on the team, and the reason that we bring it up too so much is that was the corresponding move after the Raiders cut Obi Melifonwu. Let's hear from Coach about DRC.
I just like having Rodgers-Cromartie out here. You know, we've had a number of corners go down. You know, and we need somebody to come in here to make a play on a ball, somebody that has a history in this league. He's got a lot of clout, and a lot of people know who he is. And we're hoping we can rejuvenate him, get him acclimated to our defense, and potentially utilize his skills. He's proven for a long time that he can play.
He's hoping that we can rejuvenate him. I love that, Coach. I love it.
We have a go for main engine start. And we have main engine start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
Hello, I'm astronaut Jose Hernandez, and you're listening to Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, Uncle Mosh, next up here on the show, we are going to cover the Raiders-Packers preseason game that just happened. You know, I missed the first part of the game, as you did as well, because you and I were at a high school football game. You know, it's funny, Uncle Mosh, there were more touchdowns in the first 2 plays of that high school football game than there were in this entire Raiders-Packers game.
Isn't that crazy? And it wasn't a bad game.
No, it wasn't a bad game. It started off, it was exciting. There was it's funny. Uncle Mosh and I are always pretty much in unison on our fandom when it comes to things. But in this case, you were on one sideline and I was on the other. We were representing 2 different schools, and my school had an 80-yard touchdown pass. It was a little quick slant over the middle that turned into an 80-yard touchdown.
11 seconds.
11 seconds in, and then the next play, when your school got the ball, it was a 64-yard bomb that the pass went 35, 40 yards in the air before the kid made an amazing catch downfield and then took it in for a touchdown. So that was pretty fun.
It was 7-7 with the 20. I think it was like 26 seconds off of the clock.
That's amazing. It was pretty fun. But anyway, so we had a good time watching that. So I had to watch the game on delay. NFL Network was kind of funky. Like, they didn't show the first quarter. So even though I had it recorded, they kind of missed the first quarter. So I missed live anyways when Derek Carr's deep pass to Amari Cooper and whatnot, and I missed some of the early plays. Of course, the starters didn't play long, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago. They were only in there for just a little bit. But anyway, so let's go ahead and JT the Brick does some great intros for these home games, and let's listen to what he had to say about the Raiders and the Packers.
You can't deny it. These 2 franchises share some history. Before he was a household name, John Gruden paid his dues in Green Bay.
That's after you get off the first 15, power and
Before donning the silver and black, Jordy Nelson made big plays count.
In the end zone, touchdown!
But even they've got something to prove. You got to show out to make the final 53. Under the lights in Oakland. Need I say more?
Raiders, Packers, let's get it on.
Uncle Mosh, something fun before the game actually started, when the players were out there on the field for warm-ups. Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers were kind of sharing the same area of the field warming up. Well, it's pretty cool. Derek kind of meanders over to A-Rod there and nudges him, and you can't hear the audio. I've watched it, but you can't really pick up what they're saying.
Yeah, you don't see what they're saying.
Yeah, but basically he tells them, like, let's take a turn throwing to each other's wide receivers. And, there's Davante Adams, who was the Packers receiver, was a teammate of Derek Carr's in college at Fresno State. And then also Jordy Nelson, as we know, freshly signed Oakland Raider, is a former Packer. And when you look at the history that Jordy has with Aaron Rodgers, it's crazy, the numbers. And so it was a kind of a neat gesture that Derek went over and suggested this. And of course, Aaron, he's a pretty cool guy, right? He said, yeah, let's do it. And so first DC just throws an absolute bomb to Davante Adams, which was awesome. Right. And then you could tell that they didn't show the stands, but you could tell there was a lot of Packers fans in the stands, because then Aaron Rodgers hits Jordy on like a little slant route, and the place goes nuts. You could just hear all the Packers fans cheering. It was a pretty cool moment.
Might be the coolest thing of the whole game.
It might be.
And but when they do stuff like that, that's cool. To me, that's an exciting thing in football. It's kind of like when they have they'll bring in the special populations kid and let them run a play. And both teams, they block and they miss and stuff like that. I know you can't stand him, but I go back to Pepe's last Pro Bowl, right? And Saturday, his center for all those years.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. Yeah,
that was kind of
neat.
Cool. And he went and he
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I like when they kind of go off script a little bit. It's fun. Man, I'll never forget when was it Larry Walker for the Colorado Rockies that went up, and it was in an all-star game, and he went up and one of the pitcher, I forget who the pitcher was notorious for hitting people, and so Walker went up and turned his batting helmet around backwards. You remember that? That was pretty fun.
I do.
Yeah, like when stuff like it's pretty good.
And that's it humanizes the game.
Absolutely.
And so that was awesome, man. But you were right about their numbers. Their numbers were out of control, for both those guys.
Yeah, tell us, you got those there for
I got a little bit of that, like Jordy Nelson, Aaron and Jordy, 470 of 705 passes, 6,919 yards, 65 TDs. I mean, come on.
That's unbelievable.
And then Davante and DC, 131 receptions, 1,719 yards, 24 TDs at Fresno State.
That's crazy.
That's nuts, man.
That's crazy. No wonder Keith Smith doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Who played at San Jose State, the rival of Fresno State. Yeah, pretty good stuff there, man. So that was cool. It's good to see things like that. And, that might have been the most exciting thing. This only rivaled the Little League World Series in terms of nap event. There was no golf this weekend, Uncle Mosh. I took a crazy good nap when it was South Korea and Japan and the Little League World Series. I have this I don't know if this makes me a superhero or not. I have this uncanny ability to fall asleep in the beginning of a sporting event and wake up right before it's over.
That's amazing.
I'm like, I got it. Like, I know exactly what happened. Like, I watched the kids introduce themselves. I watched like the first half of the first inning. Out like a light, woke up, and the South Korean kids are congratulating themselves for winning the game.
And that was a good nap too. There was no dreaming. There was just to sweating and drooling.
That's it, man. All right, so Uncle Mosh in the game. Not a ton went on, as we mentioned. Only one significant touchdown by Chris Warren Jr. III, our favorite running back for the Raiders. But let's go ahead and hear from Coach Gruden. This was him after the game talking about the offense.
Good evening. I'm just happy to win. It's fun to win no matter what the stake of the game is, but proud of our players. Obviously a lot of penalties. Excruciating amount of penalties. But I love the way we started offensively. We came out aggressive. I wish we would have punched it in. I thought our defense played pretty well all night. And obviously Green Bay didn't bring any of their starting offensive linemen, and it was a challenge. But I'll answer any questions I can. I've seen enough. There's not much more to see. The battle for us is who's behind Derek. And wanted to get Connor in there with the first-team offensive line for a couple series. But we got a pretty good idea who our starters are on offense, and I was really pleased with Derek, how he started the game.
Well, Kamash, of course, Coach jumps in there right away to the backup quarterback situation. I feel bad for these guys. They're not doing themselves any favors, but the offensive line hasn't really been doing them any favors either. We certainly saw that in the last game. This is funky because, and it's going on in the chat right now. A lot of folks are talking about it. we need a backup quarterback. I mean, the Eagles proved that this year, that in the NFL nowadays, I mean, you could pretty much count on your quarterback, unfortunately, missing at least a game or two in there. And, we as Raider Nation, we're definitely know what that feels like after Derek broke his leg and whatnot. So, I mean, it definitely happened. But we went for so long without a quarterback at all that I feel a little conflicted in that I get it. Like, yes, it's a big dang deal that we need a backup quarterback, but we've got a great franchise quarterback to begin with. So I don't want to, yes, it needs to be addressed, and yes, it's a concern, but speaking of overswinging the pendulum, like, I don't want to go crazy about, like, I hear these people talking about, oh, we need to trade Mack and we're going to get for Teddy Bridgewater and multiple picks and all this kind of, and I'm like, easy. Like, it's a backup quarterback. Now, I know it's important. I understand it, but golly, what do you think, Mosh?
Well, if you're gonna, you can't put too much importance on a backup quarterback, even though you have to be able to have a backup quarterback. Bledsoe goes down, in comes
Brady, right?
Come on, But the point is exactly what you're saying. If they're not playing with the whole first string, then how can you properly judge them?
Yeah.
And again, we're not there every single day at practice, so we're not seeing every single thing they're seeing. How many snaps do they take with the first stringers? I mean, if Gruden was really genuinely concerned about a backup quarterback, he'd have got another one.
Yeah, well, and that remains to be seen still too, right? I mean, that still potentially could very well happen. Of course, we root for EJ Manuel around here. But man, that little swing pass, I think it was EJ that threw a swing pass. It was like Rashard or somebody swung, and he like threw it like 3 yards short at his feet. I'm like, whoa, like
okay,
like that. I mean, not good.
But stuff happens. Marcus Mariota, the for the Titans, did almost the exact same thing. Yeah. It landed they called it the one hopper.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
that's true.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you just need to have a guy that's serviceable, that you want to, but here's the thing, though, is that I don't know. I mean,
if they were that good, they'd be the first string, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, and that goes with any of them, right? Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? These guys, if they were that great, then they would be starting somewhere. And this whole thing with Bridgewater, I was thinking about this today. I watched part of the Jets-Giants game, and what happened to that guy? He was so good, and he got hurt, and then like the Vikings like sold him out. Like they were like, and now in the Jets-Giants game, they're like, Teddy Bridgewater, like he looks like he's looking great. I'm like, when did he ever not? When he was hurt? I'm like, but that poor guy. Like I feel kind of bad for him. He kind of they say you never lose your job to injury. Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right. So next up, let's listen to Coach. He talks about the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I think they've benefited from the inside rush. I think the edge rush is better if you can get some inside pass rush. And I think Arden Key, I think Brown, Calhoun has done some things. Bruce Irvin wasn't with us tonight. It was an excuse, personal matter. But I think the edge rush is going to be better if the inside rush is better, and I think that's what we've seen in the preseason.
NBC on their website, they listed 3 things that we could take away from that game, for the Raiders. The first one was, again, it's just the quarterback. Oh, they need a backup quarterback. And then, they were talking about Penn. But the one compliment that they did give us was the D-line's looking a whole lot better.
It's legit.
And for NBC to say that, for them to say something good about the Raiders.
Florio hates us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. And, we I'm not saying this to be self-congratulatory by any means, but going way back to the rookie camp, we had talked about this, about just how these guys looked, how they're in shorts and they're, no helmets, and I get all that. But it was just something about the way that when all these guys reported, the way that they looked and the footage that the Raiders shared with us, they just looked like a bunch of badasses, man. And you know what I mean? Like they just looked good. And it was like, holy cow, we have been saying for a long time, if we hit on just even one of these guys, if we hit on Mo Hurst or PJ Hall or Arden Key to go along with Justin Ellis and Bruce Irvin and Khalil Mack, let alone if we hit on 2 or it's looking like 3 of them. Like, holy cow. Like, I'm getting chills, man. Like, this freaking defensive line is awesome, man. It's going to be so much fun, man. We're just going to absolutely eat quarterbacks this year, which is amazing. So good. All right, so last up from Coach, he talks a little bit about the penalties. Man, let's listen to it first, Mosh, and then let's kind of tag on what happened.
That you understand it better now, or
You understand it? Did you understand a penalty? Seriously, did you? I didn't either. And I'm going to be supportive of all the rules and everything else, but I don't want to confuse these football players. This is tackle football, and I'm not sure I understand that call tonight. I do understand the rule. I've been coaching a long time. I'm totally into player safety, and that doesn't mean I understand that call tonight.
Uncle Mosh, the one he's referring to there is when Gilchrist hits, was it Hendricks? I think that's what it was. It's Hendricks. I don't know if he's tight end. I think he's tight end. Anyways, he squares up, lowers his head a little bit, just below the shoulder of Hendricks, and hits Hendricks with his shoulder. So they called him for leading with the crown of his helmet, right?
Okay.
You saw the play.
I saw the play. Here's my issue with it. He drops his stature so he doesn't go helmet-to-helmet contact, and he tackles with his shoulder. He kind of gets rocked a little bit, actually.
Yeah, he got knocked on his culo.
Yeah. So what do you want him to do?
That's what
Go back and watch it. If he kept his head up, he's going to hit him in the helmet with his helmet, and then you're looking at major issues. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't understand, and it's getting talked about more and more. The guys are going on about it in the chat right now, and they're right. It's changing not only the dynamic of the game, but it's changing fundamentally some of the things about the game. They're putting the players in a position to where they're overthinking. They're putting the officials in a position to where they're overthinking. Let me ask you this, Mosh, and this is a little bit of a loaded question. We see in politics and in corporations and you name it, when a new policy is introduced, a lot of times, again, I've used this term twice tonight, there's third, they overswing a little bit, because if your goal is to get to 5 and you introduce 10 and you get a backlash, you can then back down to 5 and everybody's happy. Make sense?
Exactly.
So is that what we're seeing, to where, and we're going to hear from Paul Gunther here in a second. He refers to, like, out of 30 games, there have been like 50 of these calls. So do you think that's going to back off when we get into the regular season? Or is this a new version of the NFL that we got to get used to?
Here's the problem with that is if you leave it up, it's too much in the hands of the refs. You know what I'm saying? It's like all of a sudden one guy makes the call, one guy doesn't, and it could be the exact same call.
Yeah.
And then there's already too much on them, on their plate as we speak. Why confuse it? Why mix it all up? It's stupid.
It is stupid.
It's, kill all the coyotes and you got a rat population. They're talking about concussion protocol, but the way they want them to tackle, you're going to see neck and spine injuries. God forbid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous.
Let's go ahead and hear from Coach Paul Gunther. This was actually prior to the game, but he addresses it pretty well.
Have a good handle on the lowering the head rule, or are you, like everybody else, trying to sort your way through it?
I talked to a lot of coaches about it. It's just, guys get in funky positions. Sometimes it's, it's unavoidable to get those things, and we just try to teach the players to keep the head out of it, don't duck the head, and all you can do as a coach is keep going over those things and reassuring these guys and understanding what the rules are. But it's going to be hard to I saw one the other day where the guy was coming off the edge on a rush and ducked his head and they threw a flag. So it's really all over the board with the DBs, open field things. So we just got to keep educating the players the best we can.
The Carl Joseph play, the first game.
Yeah.
When you looked at that, did you say, yeah, I can see why they called that, or were you kind of like, all right, let's try and figure this out?
I actually asked the official right after the play was over, and I think sometimes when you hear the collision, it's just a natural tendency to throw the flag. When you go back and look at the film, you can clearly see his head was to the side, and it wasn't a helmet to helmet or anything like that. And I've seen plenty of these. I think there was someone told me there was 52 of them called in 33 preseason games. So, I understand you're trying to make the game safer, and we're all trying to do that. So, but at some point, it is football.
The more I hear from Paul Gunther, the more I like him. I've not been excited about a coordinator in a long time. This guy's legit, man.
He's great.
He's great. But but that's it, right? Like they recognize I hear from both him and Gruden, they're not against the player safety aspect. They're not against any. They're willing to go along with whatever the rules are, but it's got to be more clearly defined. It's just got to. Otherwise, at some point, like you said, at some point it's football.
I was at a Pee-wee game last night. One of our other grandsons, one of your other nephews, was playing, and Made Man Greg was sitting behind me, and we were talking about stuff, and unfortunately, one of the little ones got his elbow hurt, and so they kind of carted him off, and we were listening to some of the moms in the stands going, well, this is his last game, blah, 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 talking about some of the other kids. And Greg, we were talking about this rule in itself, and Greg says, he's real country. Well, I just don't see why they just don't get all the players in the NFL to sign a waiver. You get hurt. Let's play ball.
Well, and you know what? And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
That there's got to be an acceptable. And I look at NFL's trying to protect their product.
Sure.
It's all comes down to the dollar. You want to find the answer to things, follow the money trail, as we've always said. But so I get it. But at some point, man, something's got to give, because this reminds me of when we had the replacement officials. And you just had like this craziness going on. It reminds me of that. Another thought that I've heard floated out there. Tell me what you think of this. No one's talking about the protest. Everyone's talking about the flags. I don't think that this was a completely calculated move by the NFL, but I think this is a byproduct that they're pleased with.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Get some good news, huh?
Yeah. All right, let's go on. Let's go to our new favorite player.
Woo!
Number 34, Chris Warren, pounded one into the end zone for the Raiders. Man, I don't know who that defender was. He probably doesn't know what his name is right now either, because speaking of concussion protocol, Chris Warren trucked him on his way into the end zone.
6-0 linemen, a couple of tight ends, a fullback, and here comes Warren. Touchdown Raiders!
All right, there's Chris Warren, as called by Beth Mowens, trucking it into the end zone. And what's funny, Mosh, is that it was obviously it was clear that he took the guy out, but then chalk it up to a reporter to ask a stupid question. So here's Chris Warren postgame.
The goal for you has been, as far as like technique-wise, is to lower your shoulders. You feel like that run into the end zone, you executed it the way you wanted to get to the end zone?
But goal line football is definitely a mentality. There is technique to it, but it's definitely a mentality.
And what was your mentality on that?
To get in the end zone, no matter what. So,
let me speak for you, Chris Warren. This is what Chris Warren's wanting to say. You big dummy. What do you think my mentality was?
What is your mentality there?
Yeah, what is your mentality?
We're going to hand you the ball. Here's the end zone. What's your mentality?
It's reporters kill me sometimes, Mosh. Anyways, but there's our new favorite, Chris Warren Jr. the third. Had an amazing game, knocking in. Uncle Mosh, the Raiders, we're coming up to it close. Cuts are around the corner.
Oh, buddy.
I think DeAndre Washington, man, we looked at that depth chart that got released recently. I think DeAndre Washington's going to be on the outside looking in. I hate that, but we really haven't seen a lot from him in the preseason. And, Warren, Martin, and Marshawn, that makes a heck of a backfield, man. And then if you put Jalen Richard back there as your change of pace, your third down guy that can catch the ball in the backfield, you noticed they haven't ran Richard a lot. They've thrown to him a lot this preseason. I think Washington's out, man. I think Warren's going to make this football team. That's pretty cool stuff.
That is cool.
All right, so also for the game, Uncle Mosh, the defense played pretty well. We mentioned a lot already in the show, the production that we've seen out of this young defensive line. One of the guys that we didn't mention was Fadol Brown. Brown had a little bit of a rough game in L.A. He got called for a personal foul. They didn't show it on screen, but in talking to Mikey, who was at the game, he said it was a late hit on a quarterback. It was a real dumb play, of course, and all we saw on the broadcast was John Gruden tearing into him. But aside from that, Fadol Brown has had pretty good preseason and had a great game here against the Packers. And let's go ahead and listen to him.
How much, I know you said it, do you really feel a new coaching staff, a new fresh set of eyes on you really gave you a fresh start?
I love these guys. I love the new coaching staff. since the first day they got here, I mean, they demand what they demand from everybody, not just like East Squad guys, from the second-year guys, 6 years in the league. It don't matter. I mean, they just demand the most out of everybody. So, and it gave me a shot, to kind of show what I can do. So, I got a lot of respect for this coaching staff.
Did you guys feel like that this was an opportunity for you to sort of make an impact?
Oh yeah. I mean, I talk to Bruce just about every day, and like I said, he demand the most out of all of us. Me, Shalik, Art, and all the young guys that's playing defensive end. Them guys just hold us to a criteria or to a standard. So you just got to come out and do your job.
Something pretty cool there, Mosh. He's not only talking about the change in leadership on defense from a coaching perspective, he's talking about how Bruce Irvin. Bruce Irvin is now talking to these guys and mentoring. I love my favorite thing in this offseason so far. It's been numerous things, but by far the leadership structure and how the culture of the organization has changed. And I mean, from the players to the coaching staff, that's what changes the W's, right? That's where you get, that's where that comes from. Putting wins in comes from changing the organization, man, from tip to tail, right?
Yeah, the San Jose Mercury News had a really good article, 3 studs from the game, and 2 of them were off of the defense. It was Brown and Calhoun, and then, of course, your guy Warren.
Oh, right on.
But,
yeah.
It's hard to deny his prowess out there on the field, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. All right, last up, before we move on, let's go ahead and hear from our quarterback.
Honestly, I expected to play, well into the second quarter, and then coach just said, "Hey, man, how you feel?" I said, "I feel great. Mad we didn't score." And he's like, "All right, well, I've seen enough. You're good. You're done." Okay, but I didn't know that was his plan, or even if it was his plan. But it was good to get back out there, complete some balls, have a third down. I really wanted a tough third down, and we got it. So I was thankful for that. Get a tough third down, and we were able to connect on that. So it was good.
You played the deep ball to Amari.
Yep.
Play action, something that big part of John's offense, maybe more than you guys have done in the past. What does that give to you? The play action, what can that bring to you guys?
Well, I mean, we're going to run the football. That's I don't think that's a secret. We want to run the football, and so off that you have to have the play action pass. And so if we have guys like Marshawn and Doug and our tight ends, our fullback, our line, and we can stick that ball in the belly and pull it back. We have some good receivers that can make plays downfield too. So being able to do both will really put a lot of stress on the linebackers and safeties and things like that.
Gosh, hearing Derek talk about that they're going to do more play action, that's like music, man. It's like, holy cow! Like, can you believe? Like, it's fascinating to me that you can outthink yourself so bad as an offensive coordinator that you'd be like, we're not going to do play action. We're not going to take something that can be effectively done with an amazing running back like Marshawn. We're not going to threaten that we're going to run and actually try to, change it up and fool you a little bit by running some play action. So hearing Derek talk about that was just awesome. Mosh, what do you think about that? And also his only playing a little bit before Gruden was like, get out of there.
He said, we've seen enough, Gruden. We've seen enough. You're all right. We're good. We've seen enough. Get out of there.
That's it.
Why get you hurt? We don't want to get you hurt.
Why get you hurt?
Why get you hurt?
Exactly.
I got to see these other guys.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about a backup quarterback if the first quarterback stays healthy.
Well, folks, there's no more, okay, now we're down to 75. Now we're down to 65. We got to make cuts.
We got to make cuts.
We got to see these other guys.
Something else I thought that was really a great point was I heard, I forget if it was earlier today on that same Fox Sports radio show, but anyways, it wasn't me that came up with this, but I heard somebody mention the idea that the joint practices that happen now, like the one that we had with the Lions,
right,
that you can get the same live looks at your starting quarterback against other first stringers in a more controlled environment because they're wearing the red jersey. You can keep the defense from hitting them. Anybody that's watched All or Nothing this year with the Cleveland Browns, Greg Williams, their defensive coordinator for the Browns, in one episode was screaming at his defense. Good defenses do not hit the quarterback in practice. Do you hear me? You do not hit.
Exactly.
So if you can get the same looks at your quarterback in that environment where you can protect him, why play him in the preseason? Right? I don't know. I think that it's definitely a sound strategy, and again, after seeing Cam Newton laying on his head, and it was like, that was scary looking, man.
Yeah, man.
And so thankfully Cam's okay, but yeah, that's Fine. Derek's fine. We're gonna be just fine on that. All right. So one last thing in this game, Uncle Mosh, that was pretty funny. So there was a fan that ran on the field, Mosh. A fan ran on the field, and of course, NFL teams, the security teams practice for when someone runs onto the field, right? They practice how to corral and how to protocol for everything. So in this, we didn't see it. I found a couple of YouTube videos of it. The guy runs on the field. He's in the black hole side on that end zone, and the first security guard goes out there, gets him on the ground, but then starts to kind of lose the battle a little bit, and so the guy starts to get the best of him. In fact, he's almost even starting to rip his security vest off. It's kind of funny, and of course, the black hole's just going crazy, cheering for it, and then the rest of the team comes in and takes the guy out and whatever, and so they get him off the field. So knowing that, and it was pretty funny, it reminded me of one of my favorite announcer moments in the NFL. It's a Niner game, so don't kill me, Raider Nation, but this was on Monday Night Football like 3 years ago, I want to say, and it was Kevin Harlan, who is a great announcer. It was Kevin Hart, and it was like a really boring game. It was a Rams
Niner game. What do you expect?
Yeah, right. It was a Rams Niners, and the Niners were beating the crap out of them, and they were up by like 3 scores or something. And so, anyways, a fan runs on the field, and so Kevin Harlan, the TV stations have a protocol where they cut away; they don't ever show it, but he continued to call the action, and it's amazing. And so here it is.
3rd and 4, looks into the nickel of San Francisco in the secondary. Hey, somebody has run out on the field. Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Here comes the blue coat, Kevin.
Oh, they got him.
Here comes the blue coat.
Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line. That was the most exciting thing to happen tonight.
I tell you what, that was a great call on your part. That was a great call. All right, I'm ready for the last 11:31 now, Kevin. Let's go.
Look at the police. They've surrounded this man like he is... like he's just robbed a bank.
I tell you what, he got a whole lap in before they got him. I mean, that was pretty good. I expected him to go down much sooner.
Yeah. But I hope it was worth it, my friend, because you've got a night in the clink coming up.
I love that. I've heard that 100 times. I love it every
isn't
time.
It amazing?
He kills me. He's so good.
Funny. He's drunk. Oh, what a classic. What a classic. All right, Uncle Mosh, next up here on Raiders Fan Radio, episode number 92. We're going to head into the Sea of Fans mailbag, Uncle Mosh. We're going to listen to a couple of voicemails.
There he is, fading, looking. He's under the gun. He's caught, he throws. It is. Oh, he caught it.
You got both of your nephews screeching on that one, Uncle Mosh. First up, let's hear from Red. He actually called before the last game, so he talked a little bit about the Rams game, but wanted to feature Made Man, Red up in Yakima.
What up, Murph, Uncle Mosh? This is Red up here in Yakima. Sonny, what's going on? Just found out that I've got my 7th on the way. Well, you're catching up. But anyways, the game was a little bit of a letdown to me. Only one that really stood out was Warren. He was an animal out there. I think he's going to sew up the second-string running back position. I think he'll take it from Doug Martin. Jalen Richard showed flashes of being good out there, too. And I guess last week sure as hell wasn't going to be the new normal for Connor Cook because he looked horrible. But Maurice Hurst got his first sack in the NFL, and we actually pulled an interception out of our ass. Well, hopefully we look better out there next week. Take it easy, guys. Go Raiders.
All right, Uncle Mosh, there's Red up in Yakima. Red's got every time there's an off season, apparently he's, they're They're with child.
Yeah. Not a lot to do in Yakima.
I guess not. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, great voicemail there from Red. Appreciate you always supporting Raiders Fan Radio and being a made man here on Raiders Fan Radio. So Mosh, yeah, Warren, right? I mean, that's kind of my takeaway from that, is that Warren's going to make this football
every
team.
game.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. All right, let's go ahead. One more call, Uncle Mosh. We're going to hear from number 2. This is the second week in a row we've heard from this caller. This is Ken. And one more time, Ken, and you'll be a made man here on Raiders Fan Radio.
Yo, Murph, Uncle Mosh, Lil Murph. This is Monster Mash Ken calling from New York City. Anyway, I just wanted to go over the game, throw my 2 cents in there. First of all, it sucks watching on the East Coast. I'm like half asleep the next day, but well worth it. I wanted to say, Gunther, I think he's the real MVP. He's got these guys I've never seen the Raiders blitz so much before, and they're just getting after the quarterback. They're collapsing pocket. It's just great defense. The corners are actually guarding people. A couple of missed opportunities on interceptions, but that's all right. I think Luani, if he was able to snag a couple of these like last preseason, he could make a name for himself. But fortunately, that's probably why he plays defense. Other than that, I think the offense is other than Warren, it's kind of tough to watch. Penn, we got to figure that out. I don't know. Maybe they switch him back to left tackle or package him out and get a trade for a backup quarterback. Our backup quarterback play was, oh my goodness, Connor Cook. I mean, technically he threw 2 interceptions, and that other one would have been a pick 6. But luckily, we got the foul on us or for us. The referees, it looks like we're playing against the refs. I know it's preseason for them too, but geez, you saw Gruden getting livid on the sideline. Let these guys play. They're messing up the momentum. I don't know, but really worried about the backup quarterback situation. With Carr's track record, he might miss a game or 2 because he just can't keep it together. But hopefully I'm wrong. I love that guy. So happy he's my quarterback, and I wish him the best and to stay healthy. But if he goes down, we ain't gonna go nowhere, just like 2016. And I hope I'm wrong. But and one more thing, I think hopefully Mack was watching this game. I'm sure he was, and he's like, wow, I'm going to be going back to a great up front line. These guys are getting after the quarterback. I'm only going to add to the mix. I'm going to open up for other guys to get after the quarterback and Bruce Irvin. It's going to be great. I think I'm really excited for that squad. I hope it carries into the real season. I know a lot of people say, it's just preseason, you're playing against backups. But you know what? I think these guys are playing for their jobs. They're playing for work. They're playing hard. They're probably playing harder than the people that have been playing for 10 years because they know they're going to make the team. So, you know what? They're competitive. They're doing their job. They're playing for their families in a contract. So I think these guys are laying it all out there. And they might not be as good, but you know what? They're playing hard. Thanks again for putting out great work for us fans during a long off season. One more preseason game to go, and then wait that full games for Sunday, and then Monday night. Last but not least, save the best for last. Have a good week, guys. Talk to you guys next week. Raider Nation for life.
Awesome call, Ken. Great job. Thank you for calling us here on Raiders Fan Radio and supporting the show as you do. Ken's actually, we have 3 shows, on Murph's Fan Cave. We have the this one, right? What's it called?
Raiders Fan Radio.
Raiders Fan Radio. We have this one, and then we have Mondays with Mikey and Murph that I do. With a guy named
Mikey.
There you go. And then we have the Fan Club Blitz with
Splatterhead and Fitz.
That's right. And so Ken sent okay, let me back up. The Splatterhead and Fitz show, they interviewed their last episode, a lady that runs a Cowboys fan club in New York City. Ken works a block away from the bar and sent us a picture of him wearing his Raider gear in front of the Cowboys bar. It was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. Nice. Very cool. Anyway, so Ken's become a great supporter of our show, good friend of the show. So thank you, Ken, for the call. And he mentioned Donald Penn, Uncle Mosh, switching over there to right tackle. He was on skates on that one play. Donald got bull rushed back into Derek Carr's. A little bit scary, but outside of that, played a pretty decent game. What do you think?
Coach Olson says he looked very natural from his first day we put him out there. And then he said the thing that got me. He's been working out here after practice. Come on.
Nice,
the guy's a pro.
Yeah.
And and Ken touched on, they're playing for their jobs, they're playing for their livelihood, they're playing for their families. Yeah, he's going to put in the work.
Yes.
We're talking about Penn here. This is not just some slouch, you know?
Absolutely.
He's going to get it. He's going to get it. I got all the confidence in the world in him.
Guy's been in the league 14 years, 13 years, whatever it's been. Yeah, so absolutely. And good to hear, because, you know, it's nice to hear, although he's working, it's nice to hear good news surrounding Donald Penn.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
Ooh-hee-ha, Uncle Mosh.
Ooh-hee-ha. Why do I always cough when you have the camera
I
on
don't
me?
know. You do that a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Uncle Mosh, you don't play Madden.
No, I don't. I don't play. I play one game.
You play one game.
I play one game.
And it is?
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush.
I'm ranked internationally.
You are an international Candy Crush aficionado. Yeah. It's quite impressive. Yeah. Uncle Mosh, you and I I've only played a video game ever once with you.
One time.
And it was on old PlayStation. This was like PlayStation 1.
Yeah, PlayStation 1, yeah.
And it was a baseball game, and you could create your own player. And Uncle Mosh and I did Home Run Derby, and he wanted to create his own player. And so he created a guy that he played for the A's, and you were like 9 feet tall, like 360 pounds, and you were so big that your player wasn't even on the screen. Like, you cut off at the shoulders. It was out of frame. He was so big, and you hit like a home run on every single pitch and beat me in the Home Run Derby, and I got mad at you and quit, and we have never played a video game together again.
And that's why we don't play anymore, because I'm undefeated.
All right, so for the YouTube crowd, I'm showing up my copy of Madden 19 right there. So as you can see, it is Derek Carr on the cover, and that is because I do not like the Steelers, and I do not like Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown comes on the cover of this year's Madden. So I created my own cover to put on there, and I put up that picture up on Facebook and showed the split screen of the Antonio Brown cover with my sad face and then my happy face with Derek Carr. And immediately, everybody kind of freaked out. They're like, Murph, no, there's the Madden curse. Don't do that. Well, good news, Raider Nation. The Madden curse isn't what it once was. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, let's actually hear from the Raiders themselves, Uncle Mosh, on what they thought about this year's Madden ratings.
I'll take that. I'll take a 90 speed. I mean, the last couple of years, they've been like playing with me. I think I was like an 86 or something on it. So 90, I'll take that 90 for now. But eventually, we got to get up to like that 93, 94. I'm gonna try to show that this shit at 93, 94.
I thought that was kind of low, but that gives me an opportunity to get it going. Yeah. A little added motivation for week one. It's gonna have to be a physical game, and if I have a dominant performance and I don't give up any sacks, I mean, that's Aaron Donald. So, I mean, if I do that, EA Sports, if you're listening, that's a 99. You got to put me up you got to max me out on that.
I think that's close. It's right around there.
A lot better than last year.
82? Was it faster than EJ's?
EJ was an 83.
They put him one above. Oh, my goodness. Just want y'all to know that I ran 0.01 seconds faster than him at the combine. So, come on, Madden. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good with it.
All right, there's Kelechi Osemele and Jalen Richard talking about their Madden ratings. I love how the players get like wound up about their Madden ratings. Like, I think that is so cool. I'd be the same way. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool to hear from them. So Uncle Mosh, so as I mentioned, I made my own custom cover, and most people liked it, but there was a few people in there that were like, and playfully saying, oh my gosh, if Carr gets hurt, it's your fault. Uncle Mosh, is there truly still a Madden curse?
I don't think so. Of course, I'm not big on curses. But when I look over the stats and I'm looking at the folks, okay, so what does history tell us? Using from 1999 to 2009, how many of the cover athletes do you think were cursed?
Well,
that's 10.
How
many of those 10 do you think?
And I know this. It's 9.
Right.
9 of the 10 were cursed. So 9 of the 10 had a negative outcome to their season. So
right, and you're talking folks like Marshall Faulk, Dante Culpepper, Eddie George, Michael Vick, Ray Lewis, Donovan McNabb, Sean Alexander, Vince Young.
Ray was the only one not cursed.
Ray was not cursed.
Everybody else, though,
Barry Sanders
had a season-ending injury or an off-season, just a completely disastrous. Sean Alexander fell off the map. The guy was one of the greatest running backs at the time. Fell off the map. Also, players like Peyton Hillis and whatnot.
Right.
So yes. So there
I
was
was saying out of those 10,
the first 10 years, it was
9
pretty
of them
spot
was
on. Yeah.
Yeah, but the curse has kind of died, kind of like the SI curse.
Kind of like
it's kind of died out. You can compare them. So, with that being said, the last 10 years, the Madden curse has lost its power.
It's really not there. Brady was last year.
Yeah.
Brady went to the Super Bowl, and outside, he had a couple of bad plays in that game, but, by no means of measurement was his season a failure last year.
We're not talking the curse of the Bambino here. We're talking the Madden curse, if it was a curse. I don't think so. I think if you can go 9 of the first 10, maybe, but it's
down to like 5. Like
then.
the last one was Gronkowski, which was in 2017. But outside of that, maybe going back to Adrian Peterson, that could be considered one. But anyway, outside of that,
final word on that. Yeah.
This is Andrew DePaula, long snapper with the Oakland Raiders. You're listening to Murph with Raiders Fan Radio. Just win, baby.
If only Andrew DePaula can get a decent Madden rating, the poor guy. Long snappers, man. Long snappers in the game are listed as tight ends, and they're all like 48 overalls. They're just terrible. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So, and we actually asked Andrew about that in our interview. It was pretty funny. All right, Uncle Mosh. So something that came out this week. So here's a fun story, and we're kind of getting up against the clock, so we'll have to keep this one brief. But a fun story that came out it came out in March, but for whatever reason, it's kind of rekindled itself a little bit in this past week. And I'm talking about JaMarcus Russell. We're rewinding the clock a little bit and going back to old Jabustus Fatback. I don't know why we got to talk to, but it's the story about him making it rain at a rookie meeting. And the rookies all have this a lot of times. If you've seen All or Nothing or Hard Knocks, the rookies are called upon to quote perform, and JaMarcus made it rain in his performance. And so. Anyway, so the story originally came out back in March when Kirk Morrison, former great linebacker for the Raiders, told the story as a guest host on the Rich Eisen show. So let's go back and let's listen to Kurt tell the story, firsthand account about what happened with JaMarcus in the rookie performances.
JaMarcus Russell story. I think this one's been told before. I think people know this one, but I think I'll revisit it. The story that I think was just hilarious, and it just kind of goes to show you what happened with JaMarcus Russell. He got drafted in 2007, and I remember it was a time where we just knew, like, JaMarcus Russell was like, how is this guy supposed to lead our franchise? So every year there's what we've seen rookie shows, correct? Remember that?
Right.
Remember, the rookie show is like, hey, all the rookies go up there and you do a skit or whatever it may be.
Sure.
So I remember that JaMarcus Russell wasn't a part of the rookie show because he held out. Remember, he held out the entire training camp.
Right. Yep.
So here we are getting ready for the 2007 season. We don't have our first overall pick because he's holding out. And then finally, they get the deal done, one of the richest deals in history. He's, the big bonus and all of that. And so, we're like, hey, JaMarcus, you got to have a rookie show. You got to have a rookie show. All right. So I remember the day he comes up, he walks in, and he has his backpack. And I'm like, all right, what kind of skit is he going to do? Here's our quarterback of the future. What is he going to do? And so we're all sitting there like, we can't wait. We're kind of on our, on edge. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? And I remember he pulls out, I would say at least $5,000 in ones in cash and literally made the entire meeting room rain. He threw dollars on. It was just flooded.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even look back at what the coaches were doing. I was just the one picking up all the money. I was like, literally, I was picking up. I think I may have grabbed at least probably $120 easily. I mean, I got a free haircut. I keep the haircut tight.
Sure,
you know what
of
I mean?
course.
I said pretty much, thank you, JaMarcus. So that's the first sign of we knew something was
You
up.
kind of knew it was downhill after that.
Unbelievable,
Oh my
Maj.
gosh.
If
How
that
embarrassing.
Doesn't that just kind of epitomize what JaMarcus Russell was hearing a story like that? I mean, that's by all accounts, it was all about the money for him. It was only about the money. And so great story there, firsthand account from Kirk Morrison. But Uncle Mosh, the cool thing about this appearance that he had as a guest host on Rich Eisen is he told some more stories as well. He told one more JaMarcus story, and this one to me is equally fascinating.
Another funny story I remember was and this one kind of, a couple guys that you probably may know are still in NFL circles. So our quarterbacks coach at the time is the offensive coordinator currently for the Minnesota Vikings, brand new, John DeFilippo, the guy who I love. Just won a Super Bowl as the quarterbacks coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I remember the story as it was told to me was Coach DeFilippo said, look, JaMarcus, we've got about 15, 20 plays that we want for this week. Here's a DVD for you. Tonight, I want you to watch these, okay? Because tomorrow, this is what we're going to go with the game plan. But we feel like these are the best for you and what your skill set can do. So you look at these plays, and then tomorrow, you tell me which ones you like, which ones you don't like. So JaMarcus is like, cool. He takes the DVD. So the next day, they come to practice, come to the facility. Say, hey, JaMarcus, hey, how's that DVD? Did you look at it? What did it look? He's like, oh, coach, all the plays. I'm good. Whatever you want to run, let's do it. I like him. He said, okay, which ones you like? 5 of them? Do you like 6 of them? 10 of them? How much you like? Coach, whatever. I saw them, that we good. We ready to go. I can do them all. Coach DeFilippo was kind of looking around and was like, it was a blank DVD. So he didn't watch the DVD, but he told everybody, oh, y'all watch it. I did. And that's when I think they kind of knew, like, uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Oops.
Gosh, isn't it fascinating? To me, I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for lost souls anyways, but to me it's just fascinating that somebody could make it that far and to that level of being an athlete and just be kind of mailing it in all the time.
Almost like piss it all away,
Yeah, and because you hear the stories about JaMarcus being able to throw the ball 65 yards from his knees, and you hear about all those stories about his athleticism. And so at LSU, like, he just didn't do anything. Like, he just went out there and it's just anyway. The JaMarcus thing has been addressed numerous times, but when you hear things like this, it's just, I don't know, it's just fascinating to me. But anyway, so one last thing on Kirk Morrison. He told some great stories about the dynamic between Lane Kiffin and Al Davis, and this is just this is gold, man. As a Raider fan, these firsthand accounts, it's just gold.
And Lane Kiffin was your head coach, right?
Yeah, I had Lane for 16 games. And he was my head coach for 16 games.
And how was that experience?
I'm sorry,
for you?
20 games. It was 20 games. I forget. It was 16, and then he had the 4 the following year. So 2007, he had 16.
And then the overhead projector happened.
And then the 76-yard field goal from Sebastian Janikowski was kind of like the walk-off move that he had. Yeah. So I remember that time that going into our bye week, too. So that's what happened. We started off 2-2 in 2007. We're like, oh, we got this thing moving. But in 2008, it was just, you could just feel like the tension in the room, like the tension in the facility was just different. Because here you had this young head coach in Lane Kiffin who got the opportunity, and then you had this, patriarch in Al Davis.
Right.
I mean, when Mr. Davis walked through, you knew, probably by the scent of his cologne for sure, but it was also because this was a guy who was all in on football. And he wanted to do things the Raider way. And Lane Kiffin was trying to do it his way. And when you have that tussle, that struggle going back and forth, you knew that the overhead projector was going to come out at some point. And that overhead projector came out.
Yeah, what did you make of that? What do you remember from that day?
I just remember that, Mr. Davis is a great man. He gave me my opportunity to play in the National Football League. I loved all our interactions and talking with him. Great football mind. It was to a point where Lane was trying to take the Raiders into a different atmosphere. And I don't know if he was mature enough at that time. And Mr. Davis wanted those things done his way, that way. And if you didn't do it, it was just, you had to go. And so I was with the Raiders for 5 years. I played for 4 different head coaches.
Next time, Raider Nation, you think it's bad? This is why when anybody's critical of Gruden, regardless of what it is, frankly, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's him bringing in a bunch of old players, or his way of coaching or not playing. Anything that you have to be critical about John Gruden, none of it was as bad as those last few years of Al Davis. And Al Davis was the Maverick, and he's the godfather, and and all the barriers that he broke, and all the wonderful, amazing things that he gave to us as fans, and as the man that fathered Raider Nation. As wonderful as all those things were, he was bat crazy the last few years he was around, and the Raiders were a bat organization for those last few years. It was just nuts. So the way that we have it now, this is freaking amazing how well it's going. Don't you think, Mosh?
I want to ask myself, I wonder if it was brute or high karate. Because I know whatever it was, he ordered it by the keg.
Or English leather. Oh, my gosh. So anyways, Raider Nation, man, it is, we are in good times.
Hey, just one time, I need it.
Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, Uncle Mosh, next up here on Raiders Fan Radio. Uncle Mosh, you want to tell us about our new segment here?
We got a brand new segment. I'm excited about it. That, in post, actually, I guess it was in post, we came up with this idea. We were talking about some things, going over with some things, and I said, Murph, you got a pretty good football mind, and those that know me know that my mind's a little different. and that's okay. You explain a lot of things to me sometimes, and we work well together. So we came up with this new segment. It's called Murph Fundamentals. Hello, boys and girls. Thanks for joining me here today as your old Uncle Mosh takes us to class. Most of you have heard the phrases Hail Mary, shotgun, or onside kick, but have you ever wondered what the heck a Mike, Sam, or Will linebacker did? Do the phrases run and shoot, bull rush, and nickel dime packages make you want to go pooch punt the Wildcat? Well, you're in luck. My little nephew Murph has a new flea flicker of a segment called Murph Fundamentals, where I ask him a question and he tries to teach this old dog some new tricks. All right, Murph. Now we know that defense wins games and offense sells tickets. I mean, everybody knows that. But come on, Paul Guenther. Paul Guenther's great. We love Paul Guenther, but there's just some stuff, man. It makes me itch my head. I'm going crazy. There's numbers. We love numbers around here. We got 3 techniques. We got 5 techniques. We got 7 techniques and a 9+. Murph, help me out.
So let's talk a little bit about numbers, Mosh. We get a lot of numbers thrown around to us by analysts, and I love it that they don't dumb things down. I would rather you speak to me at a level that I don't understand and let me go out and research it and figure it out and then come back and then be able to process it. So I'm glad that guys like, Brian Baldinger and Mike Mayock and whoever, you name it, that those guys, Charles Davis is great, guys that they don't dumb it down, that they speak to us in the terminology that would be used on the field. So there's a lot of numbers that get thrown around. Types of defenses. You hear 3-4, you hear 4-3, you hear nickel, you hear dime, you hear dollar, quarters. Those are just some of the Madden terms. Cover 2, cover 4. There's all kinds of different things that get thrown out. So let's talk about what the Raiders do. Let's talk about Paul Guenther. Paul Guenther is an amazing defensive coordinator. He's an amazingly innovative defensive coordinator, and he runs a zone-based 4-3 defense. So 4-3 means 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. So if you hear it referred to as a team's front 7, those are the 7 they're talking about. So it's not your secondary. It's not the cornerbacks and the safeties. It's the front 7. So those front 7 are the 4-3. Now you can also play a 3-4, which means you got 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. That 4th linebacker is typically your edge rusher. So like Khalil Mack, right? Go. So Khalil Mack does both. The reason that he was a Pro Bowler at defensive end and linebacker is that they played a 3-4 and a 4-3, and he played that edge position on both. So in one of those, he's a defensive end. The other one that he's a linebacker. So that's the 4-3. Also in Guenther's defense, they play cover 2 and they play cover 4. So cover 2 is when you have 2, usually your safeties, play deep coverage, and they split the field in half and each play a zone. So since there's 2 of those zones, because it's cut in half, you have your cover 2. Now you can also split that up into 4 sections, and that can be cover 4. So you would have your, say, 2 safeties and 2 cornerbacks all drop back to essentially equal depth and break the field into fourths. So there are your cover 4. What we run for the Raiders, what Gunther will run, is a cover 2 or cover 4, 4-3 defense. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It all adds up to 11.
And it all adds up to 11. Now, what's amazing about Paul Gunther, and this is where that's the elementary part of it. That's the fundamental aspect of it. What's amazing about him is that he does within that, he runs 14 different. Now, this is just the stuff I found online. So who knows how accurate it is. So,
right.
So take it for what it is. But just understanding typically what this guy's known for. He runs 14 different defensive line fronts, 14 different stunts and twists, 15 different overall coverages, 20 blitzes out of that 4 down lineman front, 26 blitzes out of double A gap fronts, that's where you bring 2 linebackers in to cover up over the center, which we'll get to that in a minute. 19 blitzes out of odd fronts. And then he also has different options for facing unusual offensive sets. So like 4 receivers or the Wildcat, he has different sets for that, plus 10 to 12 red zone packages and 18 end of game packages.
You can't be an idiot to play that game.
Nor coach it. It's unbelievable.
Right?
It's
Unreal.
Unbelievable. So all those things, whenever you hear the term hybrid, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that you take the base of this 4-3, but then you change things in it, and it makes it a hybrid 3-4, 4-3, whatever. So, but that's the gist of it. All right, so one last thing we'll talk about as far as the Raiders defense, you're going to hear a lot about technique this year. You're going to hear it in reference to our defensive linemen, those amazing front 7 that we've talked about tonight, the young men that we have, Key, Brown, Hurst, Calhoun, right? You're going to have Khalil Mack coming back. We're going to have Bruce Irvin coming back. We have all these guys, Mario Edwards, Justin Ellis, all these amazing pass rushers that we're going to have. They're either going to be 4 or 5 up there on the line of scrimmage, usually just going to be 4, maybe even sometimes 3. But what we're going to do is we're going to have all these guys up there. Well, they're all going to align at different places in relation to the offensive line. That's their technique, okay? So if you think of when you hear somebody referred to as a 3 technique, that means that they're going to line up on the outside shoulder of the guard. The reason that it's got a number 3 on it is that from the center out, the numbers get larger. The odd numbers are off the player. The even numbers are directly lined up with the player. So if you line up, if you're the nose, or if you're the center and I'm the nose tackle and I line up directly across from you, that's a 0 technique. And then it grows out from there. So 2 to then 4 to then 6. Make sense?
Absolutely.
And then those odd numbers are off. So if I'm playing your shoulder instead of playing your nose, that's then where you get the odd number technique. So if you hear a guy referred to as a 5 technique, he's lining up outside the shoulder of the furthest tackle. Make sense?
Absolutely.
And then on the other side, the only time the numbers get funky is when you get to a tight end. Because if you line up all the way on the outside of a tight end, it's a 9 technique. If you've heard the term wide 9, that's what they're talking about. Is the wide 9 means you line up out there. If you line up inside, it's a 7. If you line up inside the tight end, and that's the only time that the numbers get off. And they're only off because Bear Bryant famously named them that way, and no one's had the balls to change it. So, how's that? Does that answer your question?
That's good to go. No, that's great. That's good. Good job. Good job, my little nephew, my little smart nephew.
Hey, this is Pete Koch, former Los Angeles Raider. Yeah, back in the old days, baby. And you're listening to Murph and Uncle Mosh, who happens to have the same hair as me. Check it out, Raiders Fan Radio.
Check out the hair, Uncle Mosh. Your coif. You call that a coif?
Did I say it already that I decided that my hair's not going gray? It's silver and black.
Oh, nice, nice. Your hair's going silver and black. I like it. It is. Yeah. You've started to match your logo there on your shirt.
That's my logo. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Pete Koch, he's actually a little bit ahead of you. He's got, you once upon a time had much longer hair. But Pete's is he's kind of got that shag going a little bit there.
They're
still similar.
I'm kind of Pete's idol when it comes to hair. There's not a lot of things about me that Pete says I want to be like that guy. But that's the one thing that Pete wants to have my hair. When Pete's my age, he says I want to have Uncle Mosh hair.
Uncle Mosh hair. That's right. There you go. All right, Uncle Mosh. So last up on the show, lengthy show. Thank you for everybody that's joined us here on Raiders Fan Radio. So last up, we have an interview with Kevin, the Raider Nerd. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Kevin is the proprietor, founder, co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. You'll hear us tell the story about how we got to meet Kevin and how our shows became friendly with one another. And we've gotten to know Kevin and really enjoyed collaborating with him over this past year. And I look forward to more to come. So let's talk to Kevin. Let's hear his interview, his representing of Raider Nation. Those of you on the YouTube channel, you're just going to hear a brief pause, and then Uncle Mosh and I come back. Those of you on the podcast, well, here's the interview. All right, Raider Nation, next up in the Fan Cave, I would like to welcome the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, where he and his buddies Kyle and Norm host a variety of shows for all things fandom, from the Blood of Kings Highlander podcast to Culture Clash, Couch Potato Theater, Time Warp, The End Zone, Good Evening Podcast, Discoville, Type 40, and the Hair Metal Podcast, which yours truly had the great pleasure of joining Kevin on that show. Kevin is I just gave away his name. How about that for selling the lead? Kevin is a global traveler and a cosplaying member of Raider Nation. Please welcome to the Fan Cave, Kevin the Raider Nerd. Welcome, Kevin.
Raiders, what is up, Murph, man? I am glad to be on. I love it. Love your show. Love being on. Love your fandom as well, man.
Well, thank you. And Kevin, this is your third time. So the first time we met you was at week 1 of the Raiders game last year. So coming up on 1 year. Then you joined us on the show for an interview about 6 months after that. And then now here we are, the third time you've done an interview on Raiders Fan Radio. You're the first official interview made man.
Yeah, baby. that means that you got to start getting some of your, Raider players on now so they can be made men. Right?
I know. Well, no more Obi Melifonwu, I guess, though, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
But thank you so much, man. I'm honored. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We'll have to, maybe we'll get like Lil Murph or something to do like a specialized intro for you or something.
Yeah, I love Lil Murph, man. Dude's got some toot. I love that.
So, all right. So Kevin, so first off, let's go ahead and, it's been a little bit since you've been on. Go ahead and tell anybody that maybe missed the first interview or whatever. Tell them a little bit about the origins of your Raider fandom. Now, and I'll set this up a little bit. We became aware of you because my former co-host Sonny, you're big Star Wars guys, and we saw your picture where you cosplay as Kevin the Raider Nerd, and you look like Boba Fett or a Mandalorian in Raider gear. And we thought that was so cool. And then eventually it led to us meeting up at the game. But tell us a little bit about where does that come from? Tell us the origins of your fandom, Kevin.
Well, it goes all the way back to little movies back in 1977, May 25th, movie called Star Wars. Became an instant fan since day one, have been for over 41 years now, I think. Wow. And then I became a Raiders fan around 1980 when they won their first world championship. Actually, that was 81. But that season, one of my best friends was a huge Raiders fan. And everyone around me was Rams fans, and I wasn't digging the Rams. So I liked the Raiders. I liked the way that they looked. And then shortly, a year or two after, they moved to L.A., and I grew up just north of L.A. in Santa Barbara and been a Raiders fan ever since. Fast forward, big, huge Star Wars fan. I'm also part of the local Georgia 501st and Rebel Legion Star Wars Costume Club. We do a bunch of screen-accurate costumes for a lot of charities and promotional events. So I decided to kind of meld the two fandoms here. I love Boba Fett, but I wanted to kind of Raiderize it. And it's a big hit with fans, and a lot of kids, too, love it. But it's great when you see the parents, like, pushing their kids up for pictures, and the parents are all, I want a picture, too.
So, Kevin, last year was a little bit of a letdown. This year, upcoming, we got some unfinished business There's high expectations for this upcoming year. We've got a new man at the helm. Really, he's returning after a long absence. The last time that it was good was when he was there. So tell us, Kevin, what are your expectations of episode 9?
Episode 9. Oh, man.
J.J. Abrams is back. Oh, no, I'm not talking about the Raiders. We can talk about them later. What about episode 9, man? J.J.'s coming back.
Man, I was getting ready to lay down on that. Okay. Episode 9. I hope episode 9 fixes episode 8. Let's just say that.
Amen, dude. Hey, but you can fix a lot of things, but you can't fix a flippant lightsaber toss over Luke's shoulder. That one bugs the crap out of me.
Exactly. Let's put it this way. I want episode 9 to be a lot like what Chucky's doing this year. I want our heroes to return. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. There you go. Fantastic. So let's touch on that a little bit. So in all seriousness, what do you expect out of the Raiders this year? You think they're gonna, is it the return to greatness that we're all expecting? The time for new heroes to emerge. Some of the older guys, I call them older, but Derek Carr's not old, 27. Neither is Khalil Mack. But what do you expect? What do you see big picture this year?
I expect definitely new heroes to rise. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl. That would be great. I just wanted to be more competitive than we were last year on the tails of the previous year where we had a good season. Leadership is there. I am fine with the leadership. I love it right now. I love what I'm seeing. I love having Gruden back. He's a coach that we need, a leader of men. And that's what we need. And I think the players are falling in line with that. And I think that's the start. Then you got to start to see them kind of becoming more of a cohesive unit. Hopefully we'll start to see that starting, maybe tonight. As of tonight, they're going to be playing the Packers at home. So we'll see. But that's what I'm looking for, just some cohesive unit. And also I would love to see some good raw emotion on the field, and I want to see them having fun.
Like it. Now you mentioned, we got a game tonight. We're playing the Packers, the third preseason game. Everyone looks at this as that this is the big game, right? If you're going to take one of them seriously, it's the third preseason game. But tell us about you. So you got any rituals that go along with watching? You're like I am. You're out of market. So do you have any rituals that go along with watching the game at home, or what do you do on game day, Kevin?
Well, I'm actually the secretary for the Atlanta Raider Booster Club here in the Atlanta area, and we always get together at a local area and watch it. This year we're going to be at Hudson's Grill, and that's our tradition. That's what we do. This weekend, actually, we have what they call an NFL Fan Unity Barbecue that we have every year in Atlanta, where we get fans from all of the booster clubs, all teams, and we get together and have a big barbecue. That's another thing that we do. But when it comes to game day, I slap on some extra Raider magnets on my car, put a flag up. I also got Chucky with me too, man. Chucky the doll's coming.
Very, very cool. So, you represent Raider Nation well, Kevin. Every time I see you, you're wearing Raider stuff. You got a Raider hat on right now. Of course, you got your Raider derby on. You got your cosplay stuff. I always see you wearing Raider stuff, and you are, by all accounts, a global traveler, man. We see you traveling all the time, and you're always wearing Raider gear in your picture. So tell me about that. What is the response like when you're, in Australia, or you're in Scotland, or you're in London, or you're in all these places around the globe, and you're wearing Raider gear? Do people say anything ever to you about it? Does anybody ever recognize the team?
Yes. I've been to Australia twice in the last year, and I have gotten people come up saying Raiders. But what's very interesting, including over maybe more casual fans or people that kind of know about the Raiders, a lot of them still think that we're playing in Los Angeles, which is very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yes. These are for the casual NFL fans that know about the Raiders. The hardcore Raider fans, of course, know this. But it's taken me over to England, to Scotland, and I got to tell you, in 2014, I took a trip to go over during the football season, and I got to see the Raiders play the Dolphins at Wembley Stadium. But I was introduced to the Silver and Black UK fan club and the family that they have over there. Hardcore Raider fans that live in the UK, Scotland, and surrounding European area. Hardcore Raider fans, including Keith Smith, Crusader Raider, his daughter Kelly Smith, Crossbones Kelly, some other close friends of mine. We got Les, Jean-Pierre. But of course, the guy that I love dearly is my buddy up in Glasgow, Scotland, Mr. Stevie McLeod and his wife Annie. I was just recently visiting them. They put me up for the night, treated me well, got some Raider swag from them. But, every time I go over to London, there's always a little meetup on it. And we did a Raider nerd meetup over there this last July when I went over there. Keith Smith, his daughter, and all those people came by. It was great. Got a chance to first meet these guys back in 2014, which, by the way, was Dennis Allen's last game. He was fired on the plane on the way home.
Yeah.
Which I was very happy about because I was in Paris when I learned about that. I was like, yes. Anyway, I want to let people know that, you had David Love from Scotland on recently.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by that interview because I was just there in Scotland, in Glasgow, and living in a Raider home that has Raiders everywhere in it. And these wonderful people that I met at a Raider game and that I can now call them friends and family because they treated me like that. And I encourage everyone to check out the Silver and Black UK. It's run by friends Ollie, and also I know Tony Law helped out originally as well. But those guys do a great job with the fandom. There's a Facebook group as well, and they are also organizing the events for this year's Raiders Seattle game in London, which now has just been announced that it will be in Wembley, not at the newer stadium that's not finished yet.
Sounds familiar. So that's pretty cool. Now I know that like last time that we were in Wembley, they replicated the black hole, right? So were you aware of that? Did you get to see that firsthand while you were down there? What's that like?
I was actually in that black hole.
Oh, cool. All right, right on.
Yes, like right near like the end zone there. And they allowed the fans of the black hole to purchase tickets there. And it was a wonderful experience, not so much the game, but the experience there and being with all Raiders fans. Two things. They're not doing that this year, unfortunately. It has something to do with the NFL and the regulations and blah, blah, blah. So, but what they're doing is they are organizing several meetups and several parties before and after the game. So if you're going to be going there, especially I recommend going there for about a week, you're going to have a lot of stuff to do there. So make sure that you check that out because Silver and Black UK, they know how to throw a party.
That is so cool. It was fascinating talking to David and really, you grew up in California, I grew up in California, and now we're both out of market, but to hear the perspective of somebody that was not only, you talk about out of market, like you can't get any more out of market, right? Than like Northern Europe. So it was neat to me to hear the perspective of somebody that grew up, has the same attachments, the same loyalties to the team that you and I do, but are completely removed from it, in their upbringing, which is where the emotional connections to the teams are formed, right? When you're a kid. And so I just thought that was a really cool perspective to hear about. So you're saying that's not an uncommon thing over there.
No. And when David was talking about how he was learning about the Raiders back in the day, Stevie McLeod, he used to watch Wide World of Sports and the Raiders were on there when they were winning. And also he would listen to Armed Forces Radio on a delay as well. A lot of people became sports fans, specifically Raider fans over there in London in the UK, because when they were winning, especially that Los Angeles championship, really put the name Raiders out there more than probably their Oakland victories because it was Los Angeles and it got a lot more airplay overseas. So we have that championship and we have their tenure in Los Angeles to thank for a lot of overseas fans. And that's why a lot of casual, like I mentioned before, a lot of casual NFL fans still think the Raiders are playing in Los Angeles.
Wow. That's funny. So now I'm looking at a picture of you here. You got the flag up behind you. It's fantastic. It says still loyal. It's got the old school Raider logo, old school, man, back from the AFL days. It says Oakland, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas, Kevin. So tell me a little about that. I mean, obviously an overseas fan's going to remain loyal to the team. I know that you are, and I am as well, but tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about the loyalty based on, what's gone on. I mean, there's been so many changes with the team here in this offseason, everything from our announcer to the city we're going to play in, and it's kind of jarred fandom a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts there.
Let me start with the announcer, losing, our wonderful announcer. I understand how passionate he was when he made his remarks. I get it, but he was an employee. The number one rule to keep your job is you don't badmouth your boss.
Amen.
Whether you like him or not, whether I like him or not, you don't badmouth your boss. I'm going to miss him. I love him, but you know what? That was his own fault. And Raider fans are very decisive about that and are very mad at Mark Davis and for understandably thinking that, that he made the wrong decision. I'm sorry, but if you're going to badmouth your boss, you're probably going to get fired. Like it or not, don't do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the fandom, I just want to say this, and that's why I have this flag behind me. It says still loyal, and the O is the Raiders fan, or the Raiders symbol. It says Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland, Las Vegas. I am a team fan before a city fan. I know some people will get upset by hearing that because of the diehard friends and family that I have actually in Oakland. I understand that. If they were going to move to San Antonio, I would have stayed with them no matter what. And that was the first question when those rumors were coming out. Kevin, are you still going to be a Raiders fan? Yes. If they move to Mars, I'm still going to be a fan. I don't care where they are. And yes, it's easy for people to say, well, you don't live here. You're not from Oakland. You don't get it. Well, I became a fan when shortly before they moved to LA. And, I had my reasons because their Super Bowl victory, that brought me into their second Super Bowl victory. That brought me in. But I'm really upset at times about the division of fandom when it comes to the city and where that they go. You have to understand, it's a business. It's not your business. It's someone else's business. You're choosing to be a fan of them. It's about making money. I'm sorry, but it is. I choose to be a fan of the team. It doesn't matter where they play. And if you can go see an away game with the Raiders, you will see how many Raider fans show up. It just might as well be another home game for them.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I stand on that. I love the fandom for that, but I know it can turn on each other sometimes. And that's where I get kind of depressed because lately other podcasts and other fans, the first thing they want to do is bash Mark Davis. I'm not a huge fan of the guy himself, but I understand the business side of it. The people that run Oakland did not want the Raiders. You have to understand that. He made the best decision for the team financially and for its future. And I have to give him that. And I think the Raiders have probably become more valuable now in the last few years because of his leadership and what that he's done. Like it or not, whether you like him or his haircut, it doesn't matter. It's a business. And I understand that. And I think the move to Vegas in the long run will be a good thing. The one thing that will shut people up about complaining is they got to win a championship or at least be continually winning somehow, which I understand that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan first of the team, and I will die a fan of the team. It doesn't matter where they are. And I love fellow fans that are into that as well. And I love the fellow super fans. It is so much fun. And I also love meeting other super fans from other teams. I search them out because they're doing what we're doing. They're taking that extra step, and I love that.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. Well put, Kevin. I'm with you. I'll say it's depressing. That's probably overusing the word, but it's disappointing when fandom gets conflicted on this stuff because I kind of even understand why they do in terms of it's an emotional thing, right? We have an emotional attachment to the team.
Yes, it is. And it's understandable. It really is.
Yeah, and business is not emotional. It's, very utilitarian. It's where can we go to make the most money, to have the most attractive football team, to be the most competitive. Like Al Davis famously said, you can't do that with a half-filled stadium. That's from the Maverick himself. That's not Mark Davis. That's Al Davis said
If Al Davis could have moved to Las Vegas earlier, he would have done it.
He would have done it. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. And so it's disappointing that when you have fans that I don't want to say turn on each other either, but it's just you have this opposition that goes on, and it is unfortunate because it doesn't need to be that way. We're all emotional about the team. We're all passionate about the team. So let that determine your fandom, and whatever that manifests in one person and one fan, then that's fine. Let it go. None of us are going to be right. I grew up there, but I don't know what it's like now. I'm at a market. The Raiders playing in Las Vegas isn't going to change my Sundays one single bit. Now, if I was a season ticket holder and I went to the games every week and I took my family and I could see where people would be more upset. I could see where that then it dings their emotions, and I understand that response. But don't then hold a grudge against guys like you or I, where we're like, well, we're okay with it.
Yeah, it's called Raider Nation for a reason.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Kevin, let's get into some fun stuff here. So, one of the questions we like to ask our guests is about their Mount Rushmore. So give me the 4 people that you think most represent and epitomize the Raider. It could be the mystique from coaches to owners to everybody. And we're going to spot you Al Davis because Al Davis is the Raider. So you got Al Davis up there on Mount Rushmore, and then who are the next 3?
Okay, because the Raiders have a history of liking to break the rules, I'm going to break the rule here, and I'm going to add one more, and Al Davis is going to be on the top.
So
I'm going to give you 4.
Okay, what's funny is that I might have to redo this question because I get that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And when you remember remember NFL Channel had that top 10 Raiders and the top 10 all the other teams, they broke the rule too and had
because they put Jim
Otto as because he had the 00.
Yes,
so
well put, Kevin. Absolutely.
So this is kind of this is how I feel about this. Okay, so
all right.
First of all, in no particular order here, but
all right.
there's an order here. Okay. So I got to put Kenny Stabler up there.
Okay.
All right. So he's one of my 4 for obvious reasons. He epitomized the Raiders, the way that he acted, the way that he looked, and of course the way that he played. Favorite line: How many hours of sleep do you really need? I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Okay.
I want to go with number 32, Mr. Marcus Allen.
Ooh, controversial pick.
Yes. Now, keep in mind of where I became a fan. Okay. To me, in that third Super Bowl, that epitomized one of my heroes right there and what he did. Because I consider myself a Raider fan when they moved to LA, I'm proud of that. And there's a lot of us from California, Southern California, that are proud of that. And I love the fact that he has said, I was never an Oakland Raider. I was an LA Raider. I know that might rub some people the wrong way, but he was a great player and I loved him for it. And that was one of the reasons that irked me, about all the decision process making that Al started to make. I understand reason why he probably did it, but I just did not like the way that Marcus was treated. And I love Marcus, and to me, he's one of my favorite Raiders. All right, 2 more here. Jim Plunkett.
Wow.
Jim Plunkett.
I think you're the first one to put Plunkett on his Mount Rushmore. Good job.
2 championships and still not in the Hall of Fame. Figure that one out.
Man, I've tried on that one, and I can't get that. I understand some of the knocks against Flores as a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach. There's some knocks against Tom, but Plunkett's are a lot less. Like, because Tom went on to the Seahawks and didn't do well, and he's got this whole other career to be accounted for. Plunkett started off weak, but came on very, very strong. And only 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback not in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Deserves to be there, and he's a huge reason for the Raiders' success from the last 2 Super Bowls that they won. And number 1, Phil Villapiano.
Whoa!
Phil Villapiano, yes.
Fu making an appearance. Nice.
Yes. The reason for this is whenever I had a chance to meet him, but before I did, every time that I saw him interviewed, you could tell how much he was proud to be a Raider. Oh. And there was that, and several years ago, maybe it was in the 90s or whatever it was, when all the teams started wearing black. And he called them out on that. He says, everyone's wearing black. Everyone's wearing black. And he loved to be a Raider. He loved it. He was so proud to be interviewed as a former Raider. He loved it. So when I went to go see a game in Oakland a few years ago, he was signing at one of the stores over there, the Raider Image store. But before I knew that he was going to be there, I wanted a Phil Villapiano jersey, but they weren't selling them. You couldn't find them on eBay. So I went to NFL.com and I paid a buttload of money to get a custom Phil Villapiano jersey made. And when I found out he was going to be out there, I took it with me and I went over there. I gave him money for the autograph and I told him, look, first of all, it's an honor to meet you. And I told him how much that I loved that he loved being a Raider. And I was proud of him for saying that and reminding people of it all the time. And he was so cool. Not only did he give me another autograph, but he also gave me his personal business card. And he says, whenever I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to come check you guys out. So I'm hoping that he's up on his word. And he signed my jersey.
That is too cool, Kevin.
I have not met another Raider that has been so proud and exudes it every time that he's interviewed. So Phil Villapiano.
Wow.
That's 4. I'm breaking your rules. It's 4,
okay.
man.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Wow, that's an excellent poll because you're right. No one carries the pride of Raider Nation more so than Phil. I mean, even this most recently at the alumni gathering that happens, Phil was doing press conferences. I mean, he's still telling the stories. He's such a gregarious guy, great storyteller. He's been on our show. He's been on Raiders Fan Radio. Mm-hmm. That's great, man. I hadn't thought about it because I'm always so locked into the kind of the play on the field, and not that Phil isn't well deserving in that matter too, but there's so many Raiders to pick from that typically he doesn't make it on the list. But for that reason, though, as a representative of the Raiders, you're right. In fact, he might be number one. I mean, him or Charles Woodson, maybe, right?
Yeah, and I pride myself on reading people's like body language and facial expressions. And when I said that to him and thanked him for being proud and always telling people about that, you could tell that he was visually thankful for that comment as opposed to, I love you, you're my hero, or whatever fans say. And it was a wonderful experience I will never forget.
That is too cool. Great story, Kevin. That's awesome. So all the way back into those days, right, during Phil's playing time, have been known for the conspiracies, right, the games that were called into question because of, officials or whatnot. Out of all the conspiracies that have ever happened in Raider Nation, out of all the things that which one of those is most likely true, do you think?
Oh, man. Is the tuck rule one?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, the tuck rule.
You think that was an actual cognizant move against the Raiders to keep them out of the playoffs?
Yeah, that is the one that I remember affecting me the most, and how much it just was a punch in the gut, and I think there was something fishy going on there, big time.
Yeah, that's a hard one to argue against. It's certainly the most recent, right? Well, unless you count the index card on what was that, or Sunday Night Football this last year.
I'm going to let that one slide for now, but that was BS. That was BS.
It was ridiculous, man. Well, and it was already kind of in a down year, so it didn't really cost us anything, right?
Yeah, no, the tuck rule cost us big time.
That cost us big time. Yeah, cost us Chucky, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Kevin, so you are, you're also, as I mentioned at the top, you're famous for being a Raider cosplayer, and you took your costume, and it's inspired by Boba Fett. We see a lot of costumes inspired in Raider Nation and super fans. I've seen Deadpool now recently done. We've seen the Joker. We've seen a lot of people will take a character from a movie and then Raiderize it. Who hasn't been done yet? Have you had any thoughts to a new costume or what would you think would just be cool? Like we've seen Predator, right? That's one that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like what? Give me a character from a movie that you think would be a good new Raider character.
Something that I've been wanting to do and I haven't seen yet, hopefully someone will, is a life-size version of Chucky from the Child's Play movies, but Raiderized.
Okay.
And with a big foam head and saying Chucky on the back, and that would be really cool, something like that. God, I've seen so many. I saw a girl dressed up as Storm from the X-Men, but was, a Raiderized version of it. Keith Smith, he's the Crusader Raider. I mean, there's just so many for one that hasn't been done yet. The thing is, you have to choose a character that almost everyone will recognize. Maybe not know the name, but will recognize. And that's why I chose kind of the Boba Fett, because I get Boba Fett all the time, even though that's not the character that I am. I've seen Vader Raider as well. You got to choose an iconic character that both the children and the adults will know. And of course, I have seen the Deadpool version. I don't know if I've seen one yet, but I would love to see like a xenomorph alien Raider.
Ooh, yeah.
I would love to see that. I've seen the Predator Raider, but I have not seen the xenomorph one. There probably is. There's probably someone out there, but that's what I would like to see.
That's pretty good. That would be, that'd be a fun costume, wouldn't it? See, instead of more silver instead of the black, just with some accents and stuff. That'd be really cool. And lots of room on that big giant head, right? To put
exactly. Put like a bunch of patches on that thing, but then you got to have the little tiny mouth come out. Maybe it's holding a shield or something like that. That'd be great. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, too funny. All right,
sounds like I need to make that happen.
I'm telling you. So you could be the Vegas Xenomorph Raider. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, all right. So now, Kevin, one more kind of nerdy question for you before we let you get out of here.
Bring it on.
All right. There has been a lot of, you're a movie expert, right? You have shows dedicated just to watching movies and like revisiting old movies and kind of breaking them down and whatnot. What's the best football movie? Give us your couch potato theater football movie.
Oh, that is a good question. Friday Night Lights, any given Sunday. There's all these really good films, but when it comes to the football movie, you want to have a movie that also has some heart to it and maybe is not your typical movie. I mean, you could throw any of those big ones out there, Jerry Maguire, all these kind of football related films. But one that I've kind of latched onto recently that Kyle was a huge fan of is The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. Have you seen this film?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good football movie, and I like that one. But, I would have to say, other than that one, Friday Night Lights, the original movie, and also the TV series. I got to give the TV series a shout out because it was so good, it was tough to watch sometimes.
So what was I'm trying to think of Keanu Reeves' character. Was it like Shane Franco or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, it's a cute film too. It's also got something for the ladies. It's got that relationship aspect in there. So it's a movie you can watch with your wife or your girlfriend. So keep that in mind. That's important. If you're going to put on a football movie, try to appease the lady in your life. That movie will do it.
Absolutely. There you go.
So there's a little hidden agenda right there. Just FYI.
And that was, and of course, in any time Keanu was on screen, right? The ladies are going to love that. And that was his second time he played a quarterback because in Point Break, he was Johnny Utah. Right.
That's right. And that, what was it? Who was the coach in that? I'm forgetting the name. But yeah, that's right. Second time he was a football player.
Yes.
This is more of a football movie, though, I think. So.
Yeah, no, Point Break is definitely not a football movie.
What about you? What's your favorite football movie? I was going to ask you.
Oh, wow. I don't know if it's considered a football movie, but Last Boy Scout I always loved.
Dude, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
So good.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think if I had to pick something that was just a pure football movie, tip to tail, I'd have to, like you broke the rules on Mount Rushmore, so I'll break the rules on this one because they're two completely opposite movies. For like the purity of it, I would say Remember the Titans.
Yes.
It's just an amazing movie. Denzel is just incredible in that movie.
Great movie.
Just a great movie, But then on the other side, The Water Boy, I freaking love too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we did a big Waterboy thing not that long ago. And
I totally agree with you, though. Last Boy Scout is a football movie. That movie is great. And Bruce Willis really underrated in that film. Really good.
Absolutely.
Favorite line when that guy keeps hitting him, he's like, "You do that again, I'm going to kill you."
Boom. Boom, man. Good deal. All right, well, Kevin, so before we let you get out of here, let's talk a little bit about what you do over at the Fandom Podcast Network. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I had the good fortune of joining not only you on the Hair Metal Podcast, but I've joined you and your co-host Kyle on the End Zone as well. But tell us a little bit about your network. And also, before you even do that, I got to tell you, I listened to the last episode of the Hair Metal Podcast with you and JC Reifenberg.
Yeah.
And as a guy who, look, I'm a Kevin Smith fan, and I'm a Fat Man on Batman fan, and also a fan of Rebel Force Radio, and have heard JC on all of those shows kind of intertwined and intermingled and all that.
He's known as a Star Wars guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So to hear him on the show with you breaking down hair metal, and not only breaking it down, but breaking it down well, dude, that was great. Content aside, that was just great podcasting, man. Very, very well done. That was kudos to both of you, man. That was fantastic.
I appreciate that because it was similar to when I interviewed you for the second episode of Hair Metal Podcast, is that these personas that we are, you think that they're only a fan of that. Well, JC's a big Star Wars guy, and he runs a Star Wars themed bar, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. But I found out he actually loves hair metal more than Star Wars. And the dude knew his stuff on the late 80s hair metal era. So, yeah, that was great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was legit. So tell us about that. Tell us about hair metal and any of the other shows on your network.
Well, like you said, I'm the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, and we have several different types of shows on that feed. If you're a Star Wars fan, we got stuff for fans there, Star Trek as well, Doctor Who. Of course, now that the NFL is up again for the season, Kyle and I are going to be doing our weekly End Zone show where we talk about all things football, including our shows. I co-host with the Chiefs fans, so that gets interesting. But we also do mediocre fantasy football advice as well on that. We do Couch Potato Theater, where we look back at our old fandom of movies and we highlight those. And it's a little bit of stuff for everyone. Of course, the newest show that I do is the Hair Metal Show, talking about the metal of the 80s and all of that genre, and until it eventually ended in the early 90s. And it was an honor to have you on. And dude, I was impressed with your knowledge, and I got to get you back on sometime.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Be glad to. Be glad to.
But you can find us on the Fandom Podcast Network on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play. And we also have the master feed at fpnet.podbean.com, where you can click, and if you just want to listen to End Zone, you can go over there and click and listen to that. And same thing with Hair Metal and all the other shows.
Fantastic. Well, definitely Raider Nation, check it out. It's great stuff. As Kevin mentioned, they offer mediocre football advice or mediocre fantasy football advice on the End Zone. I always got a big kick out of that about you guys saying it that way. And it's fun. The dynamic of having you and then a Chiefs fan on there. It's great. And so Raider Nation will love this. They break down into a lot of AFC West talk. I mean,
yes,
you guys
we do.
We
are AFC homers. We call it the incest division for a reason.
So it's for a Raiders fan, it's a great listen. Even though you guys cover everything, you definitely lock into that division, and so it's very good. So definitely Raider Nation, check it out. So Kevin, appreciate you joining us here on the show. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate you being a collaborator on so many of these things. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit, and hope Raider Nation did as well. But before we let you go, we got to ask you for your message to Raider Nation. So Kevin, what are your parting words for Raider Nation?
I just want to reach out to the fans here. Raider fans have had a pretty bad reputation for many, many years. That's changing over the last 10 years, and I like that. I want to see it happen more. I want to see more unity, less division. If you're a hardcore Oakland fan, I get it. But you're also a Raider fan. Same thing with the LA guys. Same thing with people from overseas. It's Raider Nation. We go worldwide, and I just want to bring the fans together. If I can go out and reach out to a Tampa Bay super fan, a KC super fan as well, you guys can do it with your fellow Raider fans. So please come together. This is what we're here for. I am proud to be part of Raider Nation because it is the biggest family on the planet, and I love you guys.
Well done. Well done. Fantastic. Well, Kevin, again, I can't thank you enough. Check out all of his stuff, the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find them, all their shows there. And Kevin and his crew doing an amazing job. And Kevin, thank you again for joining us here in the Fan Cave on Raiders Fan Radio.
It's an honor, Murph. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, Uncle Mosh, there's our interview with Kevin, the Raider Nerd. Kevin repping Raider Nation globally, Uncle Mosh. How cool is that?
Kevin, he's a traveling guy, man. He's all over the place. I love it. And I love that he's always sporting his Raider gear, no matter where he goes.
Man.
Kevin, worldwide.
Worldwide, man. Absolutely. On multiple continents. I'm not a math guy, and I'm a little bit of a geography guy. But so Australia, that's a continent, right?
Yeah.
Europe is a continent.
Yep.
And then of course here North America is a continent. So he's got 3 continents.
Three of the 7.
He's repped Raider Nation. That's pretty cool. So he lacks South America, Greenland, right? Is Greenland its own country?
Greenland is its own.
And then Antarctica, right? And Africa, right?
Yeah.
And
Asia.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Get to work, Kevin.
Poor Kevin.
Poor Kevin. No, but anyway, we appreciate Kevin joining us here on another interview for Raiders Fan Radio. The first made man, Mosh, the first made man interview or interviewee that we've had here on the show. So we appreciate Kevin.
Wait till Pete Koch hears that.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Pete was in the running there.
Pete's got 2, and so Kevin's now up by 1.
Pete will be our first former player made man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pastor Armando is also at 2 as well.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Hey, real quick, before we get out of here, Pastor Armando, our episode with him last week, Uncle Mosh, now the second highest rated episode we've ever had. It was well on its way to becoming number 1. And then Obi Melifonwu got cut. And so that episode with Obi, which was already high up anyways, that one got re-downloaded a whole bunch. And so it jumped it up still to be number 1, but not by much. It's by less than 100. But anyway, so pretty cool that Pastor Mondo was that well received. And so
he does a great job.
He does a great job. That was a good interview. So if you missed that one, definitely go back and check that out here on Raiders Fan Radio, episode number 91. Mosh, that brings us to the end. So we are right around the corner from the regular season. We got one more preseason game on tap. We're going to see, a lot more of the lower tier guys. We're going to see guys that are going to be fighting for a roster spot on the lowest end of it. And that's it. And then we'll get ready to kick off week 1, which I'm going to have the chance to attend, talking to a lot of folks, a lot of fellow Raider Nation as far as game activities on that day and doing some recording and whatnot. We're going to do an episode of Mondays with Mikey and Murph. just prior to the game. And so a lot of fun stuff going on around the week 1 game against the Rams. But other than that, that's all I got. You got anything?
We got a couple little things in the works. We are officially sold out of our old T-shirts.
Oh,
we
okay.
are sold
all
out.
Right.
So we're going to be doing taking some new T-shirt ideas.
Okay.
The Murph's Fan Cave shirt or the Uncle Mosh shirt.
All right. So hold on, let me get the camera over there for you. All right.
So
go.
you can see both of those.
There you go. Yeah.
On the website. So we're going to kind of take your suggestions on what you all want. And
Perfect.
That might be fun. Also, we're gonna do a little contest coming up. We'll talk more about that later because I always stumble and flub and have a good old time with the taglines. So we got us a little tagline contest. We're gonna probably talk about that and release that, a little bit info on that.
Tagline contest because you're always doing the tagline.
I always mess
show.
up the taglines. Yeah.
So we were given the tagline From the Womb to the Tomb by Emiliano. That was a great one.
It was a great one.
So we'll have folks call in and leave us your tagline ideas, and we'll pick one.
Yeah.
And then we'll reward you not only by playing your tagline on the show, but maybe
we'll throw some swag your way or
some
something.
swag.
Yeah,
we got I got a box of swag from I know a guy.
Yeah.
I got a guy. His name is Jeff, Raider Jeff, and from Dead Pirate Sports, and he hooks me up with Raider swag. And I know a guy who's got some T-shirts.
Yeah,
so
me.
We might package together a little gift basket for you, a little Raiders Fan Radio gift bag, and send you that if you get the tagline.
We're gonna do the best and the worst.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
We'll do the best, once a week, we'll do the best, and then we'll do the worst tagline of the season.
Oh, I like it. I like that.
We might even have the fans vote on that.
That's awesome. I love that.
We'll work it out. We're working out all the deets on that. But so let us know your T-shirt ideas.
Absolutely. Yes, do that, and please do that on all of our social medias. You can find us on Facebook. You can find the network is Murph's Fan Cave. You can find MurphsFanCave.com. There's a Facebook for Murph's Fan Cave. There's even a Twitter. I don't really use it a ton, but I wanted to claim the spot.
Yep.
But you can for sure find Raiders Fan Radio everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find us at RaidersFanRadio.com. You can find that on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us pretty much anywhere there is social media, and you can also find Uncle Mosh and myself. You can find us. I am at _Murph, and he is.
What am I at?
Uncle _Mosh.
I'm at Uncle _Mosh.
Yeah. You can find him there. And then for those of you that aren't watching us live on YouTube right now, you can find our Murph's Fan Cave YouTube channel is youtube.com/Murph's Fan Cave. And you can find, it's pretty easy, and you can find all of our stuff there. You can find a couple of faces made for radio, broadcasting live every Sunday. And then you can also find all of the audio versions of our show and this show, plus Mondays with Mikey and Murph and the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. So you can find those guys. And then, I think that's it. Oh, scheduling. Are we going to do one more Sunday show?
Probably do one more Sunday.
One more Sunday show, and then we will move this to Wednesday night recordings, and then you'll be able to find Raiders Fan Radio will drop on Wednesday night, and then that Friday will be the Fan Club Blitz, and then that following Monday, right before Monday Night Football, we'll drop the new Mondays with Mikey and Murph. So definitely check out all that stuff. Thank you to you, those of you that watched us live tonight. See all of you in the chat: Running Bear, Dakota Raider, White Stallion, Watts Raider, Ron, Alexander. There's a whole bunch of them in there, so thank you to you all. And I can't scroll up to see everyone that's been there, so appreciate those of you that have joined us in the chat live here on YouTube. And we'll see you next week for episode number 93. Uncle Mosh, you want to hit him with a tagline? We'll get out of here.
Absolutely. Raiders Fan Radio, taking a lighter side journey into the dark side.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it is. I wrote that.
He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him.